Hey guys, welcome back to Tribe of Unicorns. I'm your host, Kendra Beavis, and I am joined by Jacquie Bird, an internationally known master teacher and choreographer turned wellness guide. She spent decades on Broadway and stages around the world before shifting her gears into helping people relieve stress and anxiety, reconnect with their bodies, and cultivate real, sustainable peace. Now, who doesn't need that? What I love about Jackie's work is it's not just boring, ordinary, take a breath. It's embodied and creative and really human and stemming from her real life experience as a choreographer, understanding her body and helping us understand our own. In this episode, we talk about the physical signs our body gives us when something in our lives needs to change. She's also telling us how movement and awareness can shift us out of overwhelm and what it looks like to create more joy and calm in real time. So whether you're feeling stretched thin, disconnected, or just craving more presence in your life, this conversation is going to give you practical tools and a new way of understanding your own stress signals. And of course, Jacquie will be sharing a new lift kit practice that you can use anytime you need a reset. All right, here we go. Let's dive in. Hey, Jacquie, welcome to Tribe of Unicorns. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hey, Kendra, thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help people.
Okay, well, I am basically a wellness guide. I use sound healing, I use guided meditation, I use journaling, I talk about mindfulness, stress relief, anxiety relief, and I am also a choreographer. So I wear quite a few different hats. And I forgot to tell you, I'm an artisan. I create jewelry and wall hangings. So really, my whole platform is about wellness, how we can live better lives, and how we can change our mindset. Because a lot of times that's what we need to do is change how we look at things.
I couldn't agree more. So, how did you get here? Because I know you have a past that doesn't involve being a wellness guide. How did you find this?
Well, the irony is I've always been the go-to person for my friends to talk to and people that I've worked with in showbiz. I remember doing a show and I was like counseling a lot of the cast members. And so people laughed and said, "Oh, you have your shingle out. Okay, I see your shingle is out. I'm coming for a session." So that's
Yeah.
always been a part of me. When I think about that, it's like, oh, you've been doing this a long time in terms of guiding people and advising people. And
That's always kind of funny how that happens.
yeah, yeah, that question is what made me go, oh, I've been doing this my whole life.
Right. Yeah. Because when you connect the dots, you can kind of see like how it all kind of
Yeah.
wove together.
Yeah, so even though I was a performer, I did Broadway, TV, film, I toured, all that stuff. During that time, I was still advising people and helping people. So I think I just, basically came to this just being who I am. But what pushed me here was, that good old thing of things falling apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the bottom falls out and you're kind of going, okay, the bottom has fallen out again.
Yeah.
And you start to realize, oh, I'm the common denominator between all of the bottom falling out. So maybe I need to do some deep search and
Yeah.
thinking I had been doing it, and you do it. But then universe has
You
a way
get
of just,
real opportunity to do it.
universe just keeps going, you got it yet? Do you
Yeah.
really got it yet? So I had gone through a really rough patch about 11 years ago, and I was freaking out. I was just so stressed and so anxious and just ridiculous. It was like, go to your room. Oh, I'm in my room. It was bad. It was bad. So again, funny how you get these things laid out in your path and sometimes you don't connect the dots until you need it, but you
Right.
realize that it's been there all this time. Prior to 2014, I was in India. I guess I was 20. Oh, I forgot when, but it was a while. And
Okay.
I was walking the streets. I was in the capital in New Delhi, and I get this download. You should get a singing bowl. And I hadn't been thinking about singing bowl at this time. I was traveling, I was teaching, I was choreographing, and I was in a transitional period between performing and trying to figure out who am I without this stuff, without
Right.
performing, without that title. Who the heck am I? And so I'm walking in the download, singing bowl. And so I get a couple of the teachers. I was there teaching a group of teachers. So two of them take me to this market, and I'm going through all these bowls, and I know nothing about singing bowls. And had I known, I would have bought the antique bowls that were a little bit more money, but I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So I'm going through all these bowls. I don't like the way anything sounds. One of the people I was with was like, "Here, try this one." And I played it, and that's the bowl that I bought. And I started to work with it. And I knew, a little bit about singing bowls. I knew that they had healing properties and they were meditative and all that. But it was only until I started working with the bowl, and I had that this was when India was opening to the West and
Mhm.
YouTube was happening. And so they wanted to know about us and we wanted to know about them. And so it was really like a culture sharing. And prior to the boom that's happening now, they didn't have any wooden floors over there. So all the
Oh.
studios was linoleum or cement.
Oh.
And I had a pair of dance sneakers that were too small. So between the concrete and the sneakers, my feet were killing me and they were hurting so bad that they woke me up in the middle of the night. And so I took the bowl and I propped it up on my feet, and I'm up here trying to play this bowl on my feet. And it helped a lot. It helped
Oh, wow.
kind of take the pain out. And I found myself telling my students about their culture. Like that, oh, it's just a dirty old bowl. I'm like, no, 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 you don't understand. And so that was 2008. I had this bowl. I'm 14. I'm falling apart. I'm like, girl, you got to calm down. You getting on my nerves. And I started to work with the bowl. And I started to notice how it was helping me, how it was helping me calm and just find the moment in between all of the stress to just take a deep breath and
Mhm.
relax. And that's actually what was the breaking open of the journey that I'm on now, of realizing how valuable sound is. Because of course, once you get one instrument, you got to start buying a whole bunch of other ones. And
Yeah.
so I just started experimenting with sound and finding again how calming it is, and not just calming, but it's also healing. I've used it for various ailments. And so I started delving more into the healing arts and more into mindfulness and thoughts creating reality and all of that. So it was that download in 2008 that ultimately sent me this way.
So, how does that healing how did you experience that in your own life? What did it allow you to heal?
It allowed me to kind of take a moment and look back on my life up until that point. And, I've had a really tough childhood. There was a lot of abuse. My mother died when I was 9. There was a lot of stuff that happened in my life up until that point. I was in abusive relationships. And it helped me look at the trajectory of my life and realize, girl, you got through a lot of hard stuff. You can get through this too, but you got to calm. You
Mm.
got to calm, and the answers will come. Actually, the answers are there. You just can't see them because you're too busy freaking out. So
Yeah.
that was one of the deep insights of working with the bowls, of the realization. And it gives you space. It's like when you're working with sound, you have space away from your thoughts. If you really allow yourself to relax into it
Right, become
and get
immersed.
into the breath, and you find that whatever that thing is that was driving you to upset or stress or anything that you don't like, you find yourself in a place. And when you're in that quiet space, that's when you can actually hear your intuition speaking to you.
Right.
That's when things come to you a lot easier because you're not so caught up in the problems that's happening in your life. So that's the other thing that the sound had opened to me. Even though I knew all of this stuff, was not new. It wasn't anything I was discovering. It was just reminding me of what I already knew. And
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times we are so caught up in whatever the problems are, we don't give ourselves the credit that we actually know a lot. And if we just kind of calm down for a minute, we would see that we know a lot
Right.
and that we are guided.
I feel like a lot of people are always searching for something new and
Mhm.
something to help them. And what you're saying is a lot of times you already have these
You
tools.
already know.
Yeah.
It's already within you. And it's like I've read, I don't know how many books along the way, Seth Speaks, Louise Hay, Eckhart Tolle, all these people. But you can read all of that stuff. You can take 50 million classes. You can go to tarot readers, psychics. I did all of that. But the universal messages is already within you. Already know it. You already have it. And you just have to get quiet enough and trust.
Hmm. Yeah, that trust one is a big one. I think a lot of people are scared to get quiet because
Yeah.
we don't always want to hear what we hear.
Yeah. We don't, but the thing about it is once you start hearing it, you can correct a lot of stuff, and you can also make peace with a lot of things that happened that you didn't like, including with people that hurt you, that disappointed you, that angered you. You can get to a place where you can make peace with all of that. And the most important thing is that you can actually make peace with yourself in forgiveness
Mm,
to
that's a big
yourself.
one.
Because that's what trips us up. That whole,
Right.
I can't forgive myself. I was so stupid. I shouldn't have done that. I was, we do all of that. And it's like, it's not necessary.
No,
It's
and it's
just,
funny because accountability is such a double-edged sword because the minute you take accountability for your part in any sort of situation, then you have to deal with, okay, well, I made that choice and
yeah,
now I have to forgive myself for it.
yeah. And
Yeah,
and the thing is when you look at the choices you've made, I mean, and you don't like them, or you realize, ew, that put me in a really funky position. That's part of the growth. That's part of
right.
the learning process is that you can recognize when you take responsibility for yourself. So that's why again I love working with sound so much because it gives you the space to kind of look at things. And I know that a lot of people, as you said, don't want to hear. But if you look at it as you are going to blame, then that's tough. If you look at it as when I hear, I can see, that's a different perspective.
Yeah.
And when you can see, and I'm not talking about with the these. I'm talking
Right.
about with here. When you can see, then you open up a whole range of possibilities and love because you realize like I was able to forgive my stepmother.
Mm.
To this day, I have a good friend, and she's like, I don't understand how you could forgive her. And was able to forgive my father, and it was freeing. It's freeing. It's liberating.
Yes, when
It,
you let that go, you
yeah.
have severed that connection to that other person.
And it
Um,
holds no power over you. You're not replaying that same thing with relationships and, your job maybe. Maybe you pick a different job or you go out and create your own business or, it would be more where you're your authentic self. When you can
right.
let go of those things, of the anger, of the hurt, it's amazing. Your life just takes on a whole nother thing.
So, I experience music and or sound, but specifically music in such an emotional way, and hearing. I think a lot of people relate to that even more than sound.
Yes. Yes.
But you know, it's so emotional sometimes.
Yeah.
I've I mean, concerts and bands and things like that, and songs and different genres of music. But then, the sound side of it, when you're dealing with like different hurts and
Mhm.
all those layers of tone, can be
Yeah.
so incredibly emotional, open
Mhm.
up so many things. It's almost alarming because you don't expect it. What
Yeah.
has been your experience with that, and how do you help people who maybe have never really had that experience with sound before?
Good question. It's interesting to observe people. That's one of the reasons I love working with sound, to observe a person's body. Like they'll come to me and they're like this, but they don't realize it. This is how they're in the world. And then to actually see them start to relax throughout the session. And, I tell people if you need to cry, then do that. You need to let that out. So the thing about when you go to someone that works with sound and you've never gone and experienced anything like that before, you have to be open and realize that you're putting trust into this person's hands. And I believe that the majority of us, I'm not going to say everybody, but the majority of us are extremely sincere in what it is that we want to guide you to find. If somebody is saying, I am going to heal you,
Yeah.
but
Run.
I just try to specifically answer your question. I try to help a person feel as comfortable around me as possible, because as they feel more comfortable with me, then they can let go and trust the experience more. And I mean, so, I will do it through humor. I am a very outgoing, vibrant person, and sometimes that puts people at ease as well, because they see, oh, she doesn't take herself that seriously. She
Yeah.
laughs at herself too, and that puts people on a like an even keel where they don't feel like, oh, you're the healer and I'm the nah, man. We're two humans on a journey, and let me see if I can help you a little bit.
Do you think it opens something up in someone so that they can heal themselves?
I think it depends on how much the person wants that.
Mm.
Because I've worked with people that at the end of the session, they were like, oh my God, you helped me so much. And then I never see them again.
Yeah.
Because once they walk away, life takes over. Maybe they've talked to somebody and somebody's debunked it. I don't know. So I really feel that whatever modality a person chooses, be it acupuncture, massage, sound, a therapist, that there's a certain element of trust
Mhm.
and diligence, because it's not a one-off type thing. It's a practice. And I think that sometimes people are not ready for that, because it will challenge all of your belief systems. And
Can you speak to that a little bit more? Like, how so?
well, let's say you are a person that only believes in the five senses,
Okay.
and you don't believe in anything outside of that. And you are a person that considers yourself a person of science, a person of facts.
Mhm.
If you believe in facts and that's your philosophy, then you leave no room for anything outside of that. Sometimes, and I'm not, like trying to categorize anyone, but I do find that sometimes men come with this kind of attitude where women are a little bit more open to it, and that might be because we are sometimes more in tune with our emotions.
Mhm.
And I have found that sometimes men are like,
A little more
even if it
skeptical.
does work, even if at the end of the session they are feeling relaxed, they still don't quite believe it.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess you have to believe, otherwise, you're not going to be open to it and it's not going to have any sort of effect on you.
No.
I mean, that kind of holds true for anything, really. If you don't
It
believe
holds
it,
true. That's right. I
yeah.
I had a class where this young woman was one of the participants, and she I for I don't know, but my observation was she was so caught up in her own thinking
Mm.
that she couldn't have relaxed, and she was flipping and flopping throughout the whole thing. And, there are some people that have so much nervous energy that one session is not going to help a
Yeah.
whole lot. That people need to understand, this is a journey. This is not a one-off. Go to acupuncture and expect that one treatment to like
Right.
fix
I'm
it.
healed.
I'm healed, that tendon that I just ripped. That the acupuncture one session, it didn't work. Well, these things take time, and they take investment and openness and willingness and exploration. That's why we have people journal a lot,
Mm.
because I find that sometimes that's when you're the most truthful, when you're writing your thoughts on paper.
Yeah.
And that way you have something that you can go back and look at and go, oh wow, and really be able to see how your thinking works. Because most of us are so busy thinking, we don't stop to look at how it works.
Right. I need to look a certain way to experience this with the world watching versus like actually
Yes.
feeling something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So
So, do you do this on a group level, on a one-to-one level? How
I
does
do
a
both.
session go?
I
Okay.
do both. It depends on, sometimes how many people sign up. It depends
Mhm.
on whether somebody comes to me privately. I enjoy both experiences, private and groups, but the privates, you get to take a person on a journey. And even
Right.
if they only come for a few sessions, you kind of can see them see their trajectory.
Mhm.
And if they utilize some of the things that I suggest, how that affects their lives and how they see, oh, wow, I just made something that was so difficult that actually made it easier. But because we're such creatures of habit, we would rather do the thing that doesn't work than try the thing that could possibly work.
Right, right. Do you have, like, different, like, prescriptions, for lack of a better term, based on what it is that someone's working on?
Yeah, I mean, I really work with the person, and I
Mhm.
find out as much about them as I can. I find out, I ask a lot of questions, and based on their responses, I go from there. So I work very fluidly. I don't come with this person is coming and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Sometimes we do nothing like I thought we would do
Right.
because it comes out, it's organic. It comes
Yeah.
out of, where the person is in any given moment.
Right, and I'm sure your intuition is guiding you the whole way.
Woo! There was I had one session, it was online, and she wasn't my client. She was someone else's client, and he referred her because he was not available. And we did this online, and I had a little background based on what her practitioner had told me, but I ended up getting all of these downloads during the session. Oh my goodness. So I basically ended up talking to her and just telling her what I was picking up
Mhm.
intuitively.
I'm sure that was incredibly helpful.
Well, I think it kind of freaked her out a little bit, to be quite honest, because
Yeah.
it was kind of like, well, how could you possibly know that? You've just seen me.
Right.
But that's
Well,
what I mean about being locked into the five senses.
right,
It's
right. It's just energy you're tapping into and sharing.
right, right.
It seems like the baseline is we need to kind of, like, move past whatever the block is. So, like, do you see that it's stress most times for people?
I think that their block is, for most people, is mindset. I
Mm,
think that, as I said, the thing of the five senses,
right.
the lack of curiosity. I think sometimes once we
Mm.
become adults, we lose our curious sense, that sense that's so innate within us when we're children and want
Yes.
to know about everything and anything. We get into these bottles and we lose the curiosity because we're adults and you're not supposed to be curious about these things. You're supposed to
Right.
take everything so seriously. So that's a big block. And again, that's mindset. That's how you view life. That's how you don't expect any surprises or I think people think once you reach a certain age, you're supposed to know everything. Au contraire.
Thank God we don't. I mean, how boring would
Yes.
life be?
I so agree.
I talk a lot about wonder and, like, the seeking out wonder, being in wonder,
Uh-huh,
how much
uh-huh.
that brings to your life.
Talk about wonder.
She's the best, but she's such a mischievous little munchkin. Where so how your background is choreography,
Well, actually, I was I've
perform.
always been a choreographer, but I was a performer,
Okay.
and that came naturally. I, was always doing commercials and TV shows, to the audience of my family, and
Yes.
so I was that kid. You go,
Yeah.
oh, she's gonna be in showbiz for sure, and so I did end up going there, even though at one point I was looking at being a scientist or a writer,
Mhm.
but I ended up dancing and dancing professionally and singing and acting and going very heavily that route. That was a good portion of my, as I call it, my first life.
How did you bring that into what you currently do?
Uh, One of the beautiful things that I read many years ago, it was a Seth quote, and he said, you were supposed to use all of your gifts. And that stayed with me. Because we're multifaceted, but we tend to get locked into whatever our job calls for, and we don't sometimes have the time to explore the other facets. I've been fortunate enough to have been able to explore many, many facets of myself. And that's why I don't just do sound healing. I'm also a writer. I also create jewelry and wall hangings and, all of that.
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't you? Because it's so much more fun to do all of those things. I had a teacher in, I think I was in ninth grade, and he was just this super cool, like hippie beatnik kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he was the first person to tell me or give me the thought that my generation would be among the first to have the freedom to have multiple career paths that we didn't.
Wow.
I mean, I thought about that forever. You are a menace. Out you go. It just it blew my mind because I was in this yeah, I grew up in the '80s, and it was, like, very much the residue of the generation before where you
That
get a
would be
job with
me.
a
That
pension
would be
and
me. That would be my generation.
right, right. Like, you needed a job with a pension and
Yeah,
benefits, and what were you gonna do, and how would you retire? And you stayed there forever
that's
because
right.
loyalty and,
That's right.
then I
That's
came into
right.
the workforce and I was like, "Oh, actually, I don't really like doing this anymore, so I'm just not gonna do it."
Yeah. I think that's what's interesting about being on the planet for a long time because you get to see trends change and mass consciousness change.
Mhm.
So I'm of the tail end of the baby boomers. And I was raised by people that, you get a job. And my dad broke that mold because he was a creative spirit and he wanted to create. That was disastrous. But anyway, that's what he chose to do. And so I just have been a rebel. So, I mean, I was for my portion of the generation and my friends and stuff, I was always the rebel. I'm going to do what I want to do, how I want to do it, and period.
Yeah.
So, but most of my friends were more, you do it, and this is the way you do it, and this. I'm like, please, I'm not doing that. But it's interesting how the norms have shifted for a good thing, have
Right.
shifted over time because people have more freedom. And even now, this generation now with, influencers and all of that stuff and being able to be 3 years old and have a following of, thousands and thousands and you just improvise, you're just being a kid and you have all these people following you. I think it's so liberating and it's a beautiful thing. Of course, we can misuse it and abuse
Sure.
it, but if it's used in a positive way to help yourself and others, there's much more freedom to be able to do that without the dictate of a company or a boss or any of that. I think
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah. I think it's so cool. I mean, my kids are 15 and 18, and my son, when he was talking about going to college, originally told me he wanted to be an engineer, and I know him, and I was like, "You hate math. You are a creative person at your core. Why would
Wow.
you not consider a career in music?" And he
Mm,
was like, "Well, I can't make money." And I'm like, "Yes, you
yeah.
actually can. You don't have to be a musician. You can service the music industry a way
Right.
that feels great for you." And I have to say my parents were super supportive when I wanted to go a creative path in my career,
Mm.
but I just feel like back, even 30, 40 years ago, well, no, more than that, the engineer would have been, yeah, go do that.
That's right. And unfortunately, because I work with a lot of young people, I choreograph for an organization called the Young People's Chorus of New York City. And I work with, and I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of children at a
Yeah.
time from ages 8 to 18. What's interesting is a lot of them stay for 10 years. So I get to see them grow from age 8 to 18. And a lot of times they'll come back, once it finished their first year or they're in the middle of their first year of college. When they have the break, they come back to say
Oh,
hello. But what's interesting is having conversations with the seniors. And a lot of them that I've talked to still have the old mindset that I used to hear when I was a kid, and I was like, "Oh my god, that
it's
kill that
coming
thing."
back.
Because they'll say, "Oh yeah, I wanna be a musician, but like your son said, I can't make money or I need something to fall back on." I'm
Hmm.
like, "Are people still telling that to their kids? You need something to fall back on, and then you spend
Yeah.
your life miserable working a job that's paying you a lot of money that you have no time to enjoy because
Right.
you're working 16, 18 hours a day."
I know. Why do you think that's happening? Do you think just, I mean, I look at the cost of houses and the affordability of everything. It's crazy. Do you think
Yeah.
that's why some kids are kind of thinking like that now?
I think to some degree, but I also think it's a fear-based mindset. And
Oh, for sure.
unfortunately, that's what we pass on to the younger generation is the fear-based mindset, and then they repeat it. And, we grew up in a world where, yes, we see all the suffering, but there is enough. It is just that the control is in the hands of a few. And if more people really could think outside of the box, we could change this.
Mhm.
And I am seeing, and I'm kind of straying a little bit, but I'm seeing more things that are encouraging where people are thinking outside the box and they're engineering things for the environment. Like people's curiosity, if they allow it to have free reign, are coming up with some interesting things.
Yeah.
And the more you see new inventions that challenge the old norm, the more it opens up for other people to see that. But basically, we live in a fear-based
Yeah.
society, and some people are starting to break out of that. And I think that, like yourself, if you're giving that messaging of you can be who you are, you can follow a path of who you are, if that message gets out more and people start to kind of question the jail that is a societal jail, they'll begin to find more of their own authentic self and be able to see that there's a road for you, that there's a path for you, and that you have guides and angels and all of this stuff that are specifically for you.
Yeah.
And you decide what your life can be based on your outlook. And that's why I say mindset is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can look at something like it's happening to you or like it's happening for you.
Yeah.
And just that little shift allows you to kind of be empowered more than being a victim.
So much. So much. I mean, I think, one thing that I see happen, I have a girlfriend that I keep talking to about this. She kind of gets on herself about some choices she's made in the past because she's at a point in her life now where she wants to make a new shift. But she's afraid.
Yeah.
So she has like 3 of us that are like on her case about, no, you have to stay the path,
Yeah.
stay the course. You're letting your fear block you. But she's coming to some realizations and she's blaming herself for past choices. And I said, you can't allow the new to come in if you're still looking back, blaming yourself for choices you made. You made the choices.
Yeah.
You've learned from that, hopefully, and you can make different choices now. And it's not the end of the world.
Right. And you're only working with the knowledge that you have at the time that you are going, making whatever choice it is.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's
If
a
I
big
knew
one.
now, if I knew then what I know now,
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have married my first husband, but
Well, but
I still would though.
because you married your first husband, you were able to pick better this time.
Absolutely. I'm totally a different person now, and I have my beautiful kids, and I have such a great relationship with him and his wife and their
Oh,
child.
that's
And
beautiful.
yeah, so like we wouldn't have all of this. I mean, my kids wouldn't have all these siblings, and
Mm.
that's an incredible gift to them. And I always think like
Wow.
more love isn't bad, never, ever bad.
Never, never.
So, yeah. And I always think like we are all here to like play a role in each other's lives, whether we know it or not.
Mhm.
So, as much as he was a part of my story, I was a part of his story. Yeah, just this
Yeah.
weird little ripple effect.
Yeah, and it's because I have an ex-husband. That ended in a disaster,
Mm.
and I was mad at him for years, years. I was furious with him. And, you could look at the story and go, well, it was his fault. He was a jerk. He was a this, he was a that. And I spent a lot of time doing that. And then one day I said, but you were there.
Right. You chose him. I say that to myself. I chose this man. Even though I knew in the back of my head,
That
there
part.
were things.
That part. So I'm like, you were there, you played a part. And so instead of blaming him, look at why you might have chosen him.
Mhm.
What was it about you that you might? So when I started to do that, then I was able to actually let go of being pissed off at him and let go of being pissed off at myself and remembering that I love this guy. You was like, you used to love him. You used to, be butterfly when he called you and when you saw him, and that was valid. That wasn't fake. So once I could get to that place, then I was able to, like I said, let go, forgive. And he and I have a good relationship. I've met his wife. He's met my current. And I'm happy for all the success that he has enjoyed in his life. And he looks like he's gotten himself together, and from what I could see from afar. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And if we had
Yeah.
not been in each other's lives at that time, we were both kids. We didn't know nothing. We wouldn't, I certainly wouldn't be in this space right now
Yeah.
without that part occurring within my journey.
That's such a great question too, when you're in a space of anger and resentment, just flipping it and changing the mindset to why did I choose this challenge? Why did I choose this
Yeah.
path? What did I need to learn from this? Because,
Yes.
I think we all unconsciously make these choices for that reason, for growth. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm a stronger person than I ever would have been without having gone through all of that. I'm
Yeah.
more confident. There's so many amazing growth opportunities happen through that. And growth only happens through friction. So,
That's so true. I have asked, can I get the lesson a little easier next
I
time?
know.
Just
There's going to be so much friction. I don't need rug
I
burn.
just hear it a little bit better next
Yeah, yeah.
time.
I can read it in a book.
Yeah, but I read it in the book and damn it, I still did it.
Yep. I know. What's that saying? You have to learn it the hard way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
that's why
because
I've
if you're not
I've
experiencing it, you're not gonna, it's not really
yes.
gonna change you.
Yes, yes, yes. And he was the beginning of a little bit longer for me to get a certain lesson. It took me a little bit longer past him to realize that, oh, you're choosing these people because you are feeling a need and you're using these people to fill it, but you
Mm,
have to fill it.
right.
That was like a big wake up call once I got to like the third firebomb relationship in a row.
Like,
Kind of it's
this
kind of like,
keeps happening.
yeah. And I was like, oh, well, you were there for all of them. So what are
Yeah,
you doing?
that's true. I love what you said earlier, and woman that I is a teacher of mine, she says this all the time. You change when you get tired of your own story.
How true is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is that, and actually, that is when things changed in terms of relationships. When I finally looked at my role in it and what I was looking to fulfill without being conscious of it. And, went back to daddy. Trace it back to daddy,
Yeah.
but it wasn't anything to get locked and trapped in. It was just to see, oh wow, that's okay. That's what that's traced back to. So how do I give that to myself? What
Mm,
can I do? And the interesting thing is about that time of dawning, women weren't quite like going out by themselves yet. We
mm,
hadn't gotten to that point. We wouldn't just take ourselves to dinner,
right.
and I remember I was really depressed one day and I had this beautiful dress I had bought that I had not worn. And it was a hot summer day. And I said, Miss Thing, you're going to put that dress on, you're going to get on a train, and you're going to go somewhere. And I did. I didn't go far, but I did. I put that dress on, I got on the train, and I went across the river to New York. And I sat on a bench. But that action was powerful because it told me you don't need anybody's permission. You don't need anybody's company. You are enough. And not only are you enough, you are that.
Yeah.
So let's get with the program. And once I had done that, that broke the depression. And then I started doing more things like that. Then I did take myself out and have dinner.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a stigma of, oh, she doesn't have anybody, she's sitting by herself. These kinds of like mass consciousness rules could really stifle you. And, as I said, there's an advantage to being on the planet for a long time because you get to see how some of those mores begin to shift because the generations coming up behind you are going, I can't use that. And
Yeah.
come up with other things. And you said something earlier about playing,
Yes. That was my
the
next I wanted to guide in that direction, so thank you. Yeah, I think it's huge. I think we don't remember to play, and, that sucks.
Mhm. We'll play if we have young children,
Right.
and that's about it. But I had was this last year? Yes, it was. We were in rehearsal for the spring concert, and this is a big deal. We're in the tech rehearsal, we're in the theater, I'm sitting in the audience, I'm watching, and the conductor is taking this particular division through a song. And I got a download about a really powerful dramatic moment between the two soloists. And I wanted to tell him while it was close to the time of it happening. And so I got up and I started running down the aisle, and I had forgotten what I had on. I had on this oversized jumpsuit with these huge elephant pants legs. And as soon as I took the first run, I could feel the bottom of my pant leg wrap underneath my shoe. And I was like, oh, this is not going to be pretty. And so as I'm on my way down, I'm going, ooh, because I had just missed the arms of the seats. So I'm registering my way down because, of course, everything goes in slow motion.
Right.
So I'm going, oh boy, I'm missing the seats because this could go really bad if I didn't miss the seats. Bam! And I end up splayed out like the police signs.
Yeah.
The drawing on the chalk
The
on
body,
the floor.
yeah.
So I'm laid out on the floor like that. And now at this point, I have fallen in front of 200 young people. There's a camera crew there. And I have also fallen in front of all the staff that was in the house, in the audience. So I lay there for a moment and it's dead silence. And I take inventory. Okay, did I break anything?
Right.
I didn't break anything. And so people have like come around now. And I'm aware. And then I start laughing. And I am like howling laughing, not like ha ha ha, but I'm like guffawing, like, hiccup laugh, that real hard laugh where you hurt your stomach. And so the conductor, he's the artistic director, he has turned around and he's yelling from the stage, is she okay? Is she okay? And so I don't answer because I'm laughing.
Yeah.
So the people that were around me get me to sit up. And one of the women turns around, she turns to him and she says, I don't know if she's laughing or crying because tears were rolling down. It was the funniest thing to me ever. And I didn't care that I had fallen in front of all these people. I didn't care. It was so funny to me because it was so in keeping with me just being so clumsy, always clumsy since childhood. So that's where I was. And they got me to stand up. I'm still laughing. They walk me back to the seat. I'm still laughing. And I'm laughing throughout the rehearsal because I'm getting a glimpse of me falling and picturing what that looked like.
Yeah.
And, if I didn't have the sense of play and the sense of, because I really could have gotten hurt. Could have been really, really bad, but it wasn't. And I could imagine how I looked falling. And that was funny. That was just funny to me. And it's just, like I said, if I didn't have a sense of play, if I didn't take myself so seriously, that could have gone down a totally different way.
Yeah.
So our sense of play is important. And what was surprising me is not one person laughed. None of the kids laughed. And they're teenagers.
Yeah.
None of them laughed. And some of that was because the artistic director shut it down, like immediately. I said to one of the seniors, maybe a few weeks later, I said, did you see me fall? And he goes, yep. And then he demonstrates it.
Gosh. Well, and I guess the fact that you were laughing kind of gives them permission to find it funny if you did.
Yeah, it's just, I was teaching, I was a guest teacher at a university out west, and it was the last day. It was not the most pleasant experience out there for me or the students. And I'm demonstrating this move of how I want it done. And I end up falling and sliding across the entire stage.
No.
I told you I was clumsy.
Yeah.
Slid across the entire stage, ended up in a heap, and started laughing. And when I turned around, not one of the students was laughing. They were looking at me like, oh my God, how dare you fall and then you laugh and you think it's funny. And I felt bad for them because I was like, if you're so serious that you can't see that this person that you didn't like just busted her butt in front of you and you didn't think that was funny, ooh, child, you're going to have a hard time in life.
Yeah, for sure.
That thing of play and not taking yourself so seriously and being able to see fun and opportunities for fun every chance you get is a life changer, and we buy creams for anti-aging and all that, but your sense of humor and your sense of play and your mindset will keep you looking young.
Yeah. Well, even, play without purpose too, because I feel like as we get
Yeah.
to become adults, everything has to have a purpose, a
Mm.
functional purpose, or, there's never anything that we just like do for no reason, just because we enjoy it.
Yeah.
And there's also like a stigma against it. Like if I were to say like and like I do, I'll go into the city and I will go to the Met and I will spend the day just browsing and walking and being inspired by everything around me.
Mm.
I used to be not terrified, but embarrassed to tell people like, "Oh, I'm going to have a me day,
Mm.
in the museum," because I wasn't working, she's
Mhm.
so flighty. Like, it's
Yeah.
definitely shunned when you take that time for yourself, but we
Mhm.
need it so badly.
It's important. I mean, one of the other things I've done is worked as a wedding choreographer, and I've met some interesting couples
Mhm.
through that. And a lot of them came to me from the tech world, and I found a lot of them to be very uptight and serious. And it just was always kind of fascinating to me to observe that in people way younger than me.
Yeah.
Like 20 years younger than me, just very, very serious. I'm like, this is a dance. This is a dance with this person that you love. Loosen up, have some fun. Enjoy the moment. Don't think about, oh, I'm dancing in front of all my friends and family and I can't mess up.
Right.
If you, because a lot of them came to me with that mindset. I need to
Get it right.
get it right. I need to not look at that like that couple that we saw at the other wedding we went to where they were stiff. We have to, so it's a competition thing. It's like,
Right.
and it's not because we want to have a good time. Every now and then I would get couples that just wanted to have a good time and
Yeah.
celebrate their union. And that was a different experience. They were more outgoing, they were more open to suggestions and trying things that they hadn't had this prefab idea of.
Right.
And our sessions were much, much more fun. And then the people that came that it was a competition for, or they had to show up looking right, there was a lot of tension between them, and it didn't help the session go in a smooth manner where it could have been more enjoyable for everybody involved.
Yeah. Yeah. I often think about playtime like from a singular experience, but playing with a friend, a partner,
Yeah.
I mean, that's so why if you're together with somebody in any capacity, why not try and just relax and have more fun?
My partner, my dude, we are the silliest people. It's like if you didn't see, if you just heard us, you heard two people in a room and you didn't see us, you would think that we were unsupervised children or teenagers because we're so silly and we crack each other up, and it'll be again, the most ridiculously silly thing that he'll say that I'll just crack up about, or he'll do something to me like like you did when you were kids and you had this boy poke fun at you. And that's how we live.
Yeah. That's beautiful. We should never lose that.
It's so much fun.
Yeah. Do you so you have a book, 28 Daily Thoughts and Mantras for Mindfulness.
Yes.
Mindfulness to you, what does that look like?
Mindfulness is for me is not this thing where you have to go be a Tibetan monk or a
Although I would love to
Buddhist.
try that.
Or,
Although I would love to go to Tibet and study with monks, but go ahead.
yeah, but I mean, it's not, for me, it's
Right, right.
not to that extreme.
Yeah.
Mindfulness is paying attention, very
Mhm.
simply. It's being aware. It's being aware of yourself. It's being aware of yourself in the space with yourself, being aware of yourself in the space with others. To me, that's mindfulness. Being considerate, being kind, being caring, be compassionate. To
Yeah.
me, that's mindfulness because you're thinking, it's not just thinking about others, but it's thinking about yourself in the space of
Yeah.
putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and not being so judgmental, understanding that the comment you made earlier, people come with what they know, come with
Mhm.
the lessons they've learned. That's how they walk in the world. To me, mindfulness is going to look at yourself, look at how you roll in the world, how you come and respond to people in the world. To me, that's mindfulness.
Yeah. What is if so there I'm assuming there are 28 mantras?
Well, there are 28 thoughts.
Okay.
I don't always have mantras. Sometimes I'll have guided meditation. Sometimes I'll have action steps where they're exercises to observe yourself through activities.
Mhm.
Where is your mind? Are you always in the past? Are you always in the future? Are you ever present? Like I ask questions like that. And then I'll
Right.
have a quote of the day. I'll have a photograph in terms of like if that's all you have time to do, and you look at the photograph and you look at what I've written on the photograph and take that through the day. So I've
Mhm.
written it for the person that doesn't have a lot of time. It's in bite-sized pieces. There's, like I said, the thought of the day. Then, if you have more time, I delve a little bit more deeply into it, and then I may have a guided meditation at the end of that day. Um, or with mantras, and
Okay.
always invite people to say their own, create their own.
That leads me beautifully into our lift kit exercise. Your book sounds like it could be the perfect lift kit, Bible almost. So, what is one thing that you personally would recommend to someone that they could just do without equipment to help raise their vibe if they're just feeling like they just can't today?
Okay, I always say breathe.
Mhm.
And if you before you jump out of bed, even if you need to set your alarm a little bit earlier, 5 minutes earlier, before jumping out of bed, before thinking about all the stuff that you have to do, because that's enough to depress you.
Mhm.
Before all of that, just lay in the bed and begin to feel the breath going into your nostrils and feel the breath going out of your nostrils. And you don't have to count. You don't have to, it's just becoming aware of your normal breathing. And then as you become aware of your normal breathing, begin to extend the in breath and then extend the out breath so that it's a little bit longer than the in breath. And just recycle that.
Mhm.
And as you're doing that and you're paying attention to the breath, you might want to give your mind, because sometimes that's hard for people if they're not used to being able to quiet their mind, but have some type of visual soundtrack in your mind. Maybe it could be water, just water, something that's soothing to you. It could be your favorite flower, and you envision this in your mind while you're taking the breaths. It could be if you love birds, it could be the flight of your favorite bird taking off and moving through the sky. Anything that resonates with you. I'm big on symbolism.
Mhm.
Anything that resonates with you while you're taking that breath. And then once you have gotten to the end of the cycle, let's say your alarm goes off, try to stop before the alarm goes off. And that's with practice, getting a sense of your innate time. And then over time, you'll stop before the alarm goes off. And once the alarm goes off, just sit up. Again, don't jump up. Sit up and feel yourself within your body before you put your feet on the bed. Do not look at your cell phone. And as a matter of fact, your cell phone shouldn't even be by your bed unless you got small children. Your cell phone should not be within hand's reach. Don't make that the first thing that you reach for. Make your breath the first thing that you reach for, quieting your mind, finding the symbol that's calming. Sit up for a few moments, take inventory through your body. You can do this quickly. Just scan how you feeling. Okay, how you feeling? And then swing your feet out to touch the ground.
Yeah.
And when you touch the ground, again, don't touch it and run. Just put it down. Feel yourself grounded to the floor. Repeat the breath, then get up and go on about your business.
I am totally going to do that tomorrow morning. I think there's such a beautiful thing to slowness. I don't
Yeah.
know what it is this last year, but really enjoying moving slower and being really present
Mm.
and
Yeah.
not rushing so much.
Yes.
I don't know if it's because my kids are older and I'm
Mm.
not needed in that way anymore, but I just
Mhm.
feel like I've been able to slow things down and really
Yeah.
marinate in these moments a little
I
bit
love
more.
that, marinating these moments. That's really important. People think fast and multitasking is the
Right.
way, and that'll burn you out faster than anything. It's finding time to slow down in your life somewhere, and you have to make that time. You have to create it
Hmm.
somewhere. You have to shovel that out for yourself. That's
Right.
so important.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can do it again at night before you get in the bed, just sit at the side of the bed with your feet grounded on the floor. and just, again, repeat that cycle of the breathing before you lay down.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of us have trouble sleeping,
Right.
and it's sometimes what's the last thing you did? You looked at your phone, or you looked at the computer, or you looked at television. And so there's no moment between the stimulation and trying to sleep.
Yeah. Well, that is a great practice, a lovely bookend to a day. Where can people find you? How can they work with you?
So you can find my website at Jacquie Bird Spiritual Wellness. And that's where everything is: my podcast, my blog, my products. I create music, I create handcrafts. You can book me through there. You can book a custom audio if you want. So all of that stuff, the about page, everything is on my website. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, Jacquie Bird Spiritual Wellness, and I'm on TikTok as your wellness guide.
Okay, awesome. We'll have all those notes in the or links in the show notes. I highly recommend you guys go check out Jacquie. I've listened to some of your guided meditations, your sound healing.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
just absolutely beautiful and really helps kind of reset your brain when you need a little.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your time and energy with us. And I'm so excited to put this out into the world and hear what people got from it. Before we jump, if there's one thing that, if somebody was listening to this and just you didn't want them to not hear it, what would be, the one thing that you want to share with somebody that they can walk away with?
You are your most valuable asset.
Love that. We need to hear that and live that. Yeah. Well, thank you so, so much. And guys, go check out Jacquie, and I will see you next time.